Welcome, Facebookers. Welcome, Facebookers. We'll be on live in just a moment. That's because... Testing.
I can hear music.
Testing.
Oh, I can hear you now.
That went out over the air. Hello,
There we go.
and welcome to the Extraordinary Talk Show with your host, Della Hill, and my good friend, Cody. Welcome, Cody.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to have y'all here today, as I am every Monday. Today, I put some thought into the show about what we wanted to talk about, and I wanted to build on some of the things that we've talked about previously. We've talked about following your path, following your intuition, really just trying to change your perspective, change how you see your life, and live the best life possible, right? So I asked Cody to come here with me today to talk about signs. How do you know if you're on the right path? How do you know if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing? It is my belief that we all were born here, came here for a reason, or for actually probably many, many reasons, and we're accomplishing those things or trying to work towards them. But it's sometimes difficult to know if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, if you're following the right things, if you're motivated about the right things, if you have the right goals in mind. And one thing that Cody and I have talked about is the signs that we see around us that seem to just kind of confirm that things are right for us. And you can see those around you. You can see them inside of you. But Cody and I have even had some similar signs happen coincidentally at the same time. And coincidences are one big way that you can tell you're on the right path, that things are going the right way. And sometimes we just blow off coincidences as coincidences. My challenge to you is to not look at them as coincidences and blow them off, but to look at them and ask if there's a meaning behind that. Or if you see the same thing, if you have patterns, does that hold a meaning for you? For example, I have a friend who sees dimes. You know, we all have money in our pocket or laying around the house in the couch cushions. But it seems to her like dimes jump out at her. She sees dimes more than she sees any other coin, and usually face-up dimes. Okay, maybe that's a coincidence. Maybe it doesn't mean anything, except to her, it means a lot. To her, it's a sign that she's loved, that she's doing what she's supposed to be doing. And it's just a confirmation that things are good for her. And it makes her happy every time she has that. So my question is, do you already have something like that in your life, for Cody as well as for all of our listeners? And what is that? And do you know of some other people who have similar things? So, Cody, jump to you. What kind of signs do you see around you?
Wow. It's a very interesting question. So the signs that I see around me, so I think for me, what's been really interesting is my mind shift to be able to see the signs in the first place.
That's really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like to be able to recognize that the coincidences aren't just coincidences.
Yeah, when they become more than coincidences. And I feel like, I mean, like the old Einstein quote, you can live life as if everything's a miracle or as if nothing's a miracle.
I love that one.
And me too. And, when you're not really living as if anything is a miracle, then it's very kind of like an egotistical way of living. And then you're just kind of blocked off to any signs that may be there in the first place, which is kind of where I was at for a long time in my life. And being able to be more mindful, to be able to just kind of have a different perspective of my life. And all of a sudden I'm seeing what I'm calling little miracles everywhere. And it's super cool. Even on the way here, I was thinking about when I got off on the freeway because I was running a little late. And
As was I, so you got here before me.
And I was like, okay, am I going to turn at the first light or am I going to go past it and turn the next one, the path of least resistance? Well, I'll know when I get there. And like I got there and the light was green. There was a flashing orange. I'm like, oh, cool. And just every light turned green for me. And I was here faster than I even thought I was going to be. And so is it a little coincidence? Probably. But to me, it was just this miracle, just these little miracles that like reality just kind of seems to be forming around me, which is just really kind of interesting to see. Whereas before I couldn't even see that.
Totally. And I feel the exact same way because I've totally had kind of the same experience waking up and seeing things around me that I didn't really notice before. And I love how you talked about that Einstein quote that you can either live your life that everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle, and especially that you referenced that is an egotistical way of thinking. When we talk about ego, one way to see signs in your life, one way to know that you're making progress, that you're learning and you're growing and you're following the path that you should be following, is when ego is a much smaller thing in your life. When you say I less and when you say you more. One thing that I'm really, really bad about I'm an egotistical person. I have very high self-confidence. I'm a little bit arrogant. Anybody that knows me well might not say that to me, but they know it because I have nice friends and they're very friendly and they wouldn't say nice things or mean things like that. But sometimes I might need to hear that because I am very egotistical. And one way that I recognized how egotistical I was in my Facebook comments. I always started them with I might be commenting on somebody else's thing about their comment, about their post, about their life, and my reaction is how I respond to that. And that was a clue to me that I was focusing on me way more than I was focusing on the people who I'm trying to connect with.
So it was a sign really of your
that I
ego.
needed to change. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so one thing that I've been doing, and believe me, as egotistical as I am, I recognize that I have a lot of areas I need to grow in still. So one thing I've been doing is I'll start to type something out on my phone and I'll say and I'll go, wait, this isn't supposed to be about me. And I back it up. And it's actually a practice. It actually takes effort to think, how do I make this about that person instead of about me? But it's been a great practice. So instead of looking at, somebody got a new dog and their dog is like so cute, instead of going, oh, I think he's so cute, I can say, wow, how amazing for your family to have this new family member join them. Right? So to look at the other person and how this situation is meaningful and impactful to that person, as opposed to just trying to tell everybody how it's meaningful and impactful to me.
So do you find that it flows more easily now to you to be able to not say as
That's
much?
A really good question. And to be honest, it's something I'm still in the process of. It's something that I still do. I still catch myself saying I still catch myself having to reframe things and make it not about me and make it about, see, I just did it right there. Just then I could have said, make it about the other person. And I didn't. I said, make it not about me. I'm still making it about me. So what I must do, and I have to remind myself to do it, is to reframe it. And I still have to reframe it. It's getting easier. And when I very first started, I wouldn't even notice every time I was starting with I. And as I went along, I would catch myself more often. And as I keep going, it becomes easier to reframe it about the other person, about me. But it's still something I'm working on.
Well, it totally makes sense. I mean, with So one thing that I'm working on constantly, daily, is I've been realizing my emotions, whatever emotion I'm feeling at the time, is biofeedback for my brain space. And trying to
Can you tell us, like, explain just really briefly, because you could probably talk for an hour about that with, and I have with you, and it's fantastic and really, really interesting, but can you like break down what that means really quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, in normal day-to-day activity, our brain space, it remains in beta, which is the wavelength, the beta wavelength, and it dips a little bit into alpha.
It kind of goes in and out of alpha all day, depending on your activity.
Exactly. And to maintain a deeper one, then you're maintaining a deeper alpha brain space, usually throughout the day, and sometimes dipping into theta a little bit. And so to be able to, and they release different chemicals into your brain, into your system, cortisol and adrenaline, which are responsible for stress, or the 5 miracle chemicals. And so to be able to maintain it, our emotions are just essentially biofeedback for where our brain space is. So if I'm feeling anxious at work, or anger, or embarrassed, or whatever it is, then I know that I'm probably in a beta brain space, which is just sending me a flow of cortisol and adrenaline, which is not what I want.
Right.
And so being able to realize that all my emotions are biofeedback, and it's just getting easier and easier when I have an elevated heart rate and I'm feeling anxious to breathe and do a little a wakeful meditation that I do, and instantly you feel it change and you get better at it. But I mean, you have to know again the signs, the language of your body of what's going on, to be able to even begin in the first place to see the sign, So now for you, for instance, every time the word I comes up, it's kind of a trigger to, oh, no, wait, no, this is not about me. And for me, what I'm working on is the emotions. Oh, okay, that's my brain space. I need to, what an awesome, beautiful thing to be able to recognize it and change it in the moment.
That is an awesome and beautiful thing. And that's totally recognizing the signs, because you can see the negative signs that you're not feeling how you want to be feeling, and to have the tools to immediately redirect that to create the signs that you are feeling how you should be feeling is pretty awesome. That's a pretty fantastic thing. Another thing that I like that you said is that you had to learn how to do that. I had to have you, I asked you to explain what you meant, because I know what you mean, but most people don't, when you talk about the 5 miracle chemicals and your emotions being biofeedback for your brain. When people learn how that works and learn to understand it, then they can more effectually implement those things in their lives. And when they do that, they're going to be seeing more of these signs. So, for example, can you give me a time that you were maybe in a rough place, feeling some of those emotions and getting that biochemical feedback that triggered you and said, hey, I need to fix this. So you worked on it, you fixed it. And can you tell me how your day got better after that? Do you have an example of something good that happened later that might not have happened had you been able to change your brain space? And that might be a tricky question that I didn't prep you for, so you might not be ready. Definitely
a tricky question. So I would say, one that comes to mind is on Friday, the day, last day of the week of work for some people anyway. And I just did not want to be there. Just didn't want to be there at all. And I was in a pretty negative mind space, just not wanting to be at work that day. I just wanted to be at home with my love. And so I remember just kind of going for the first hour of the morning. It was just hard. And that's the other thing too. When you're in the wrong mindset, everything is so much harder. Like everything. Just getting out of bed, and the chemistry in your body is literally different when that happens.
And that's why people with depression say it's hard to get out of bed in the morning, and those who don't have depression, have never experienced that, don't understand it. They don't have an understanding or an empathy. Well, just get out of bed. It's not that hard. But when you're in that brain space, it can feel like it's impossible.
Well, and I'm not going to go too far down the road, but I mean, it literally there's different genetic expressions happening in your body, so your chemistry is literally different. Like you literally don't have access to certain information that if you're not feeling that way, you do. There's some really really cool, amazing studies on that. But so yeah, I was in a negative mind space, and I just did not want to be there. And then I realized it. I realized, hey, this is not how you wanna be going throughout your day, man. So I stepped aside, and this time I actually went into the bathroom for a few minutes and just did a little breathing exercise I do, and meditation, and felt the cortisol and adrenaline kind of slow in my system, and you can just feel your brain space kind of going deeper, and the rest of the day got amazing. I mean, it was just getting better and better from there on out, and it came time to go to lunch, and next thing you know, my boss is, why don't you just go home for the rest of the day, Cody? We're good. We're gonna go home early today. And, man.
And everybody else went home early too?
And yeah, everybody went home early.
Right on.
And I don't know if it was just coincidence, but for me it was a sign. Like, man, as soon as I changed my mind space, it just got better and better and better. And then finally it was just like, oh, what a beautiful little miracle,
Right. And when you changed your brain space, did you get to a place of acceptance that like, okay, I'm here at work. It's going to be fine. I can be here till 5 or till whatever time you leave. I do that every day. It's not that big of a deal. Did you kind of feel like you gained an acceptance of the day, no matter what it was going to be?
Absolutely. I feel like that's part of just how life goes, is embracing the uncertainty. Because, I mean, how many times have we made plans? And, it's going to go like this, and we're going to do this. And then how many times did it actually go according to your plan? Like,
almost never.
Exactly.
Sometimes even better than I planned. Sometimes not as good as I planned.
Exactly. And so knowing it's like, people are surprised when crap happens. I guarantee you crap's going to happen in your life. I guarantee it. We shouldn't be surprised.
I wish you could promise me the opposite. But I agree with you. It's not possible.
Well,
Look, I just made it about myself again.
But yeah, I mean, my day got amazing after that, after just changing my brain space. And yeah, there's that acceptance of just like, okay, let's make this. I'm stuck here till whenever I go. So let's make today just an amazing day then. And
awesome. See, the term that automatically comes to my mind when you explain that is surrendering. That you're in a situation and you may or may not be able to affect the outcome, or you may be able to affect it partly but not completely. So we feel frustrated. We feel so aggravated that we can't change the situation that we're in more than we can. And the truth is sometimes we can change it more than we can, and we're not taking responsibility for ourselves in that way. But sometimes we can't. And to be able to surrender to that, to just say, well, I could choose to get upset about this. I could choose to make my life even harder with my reaction to the situation, or I can accept it. And I talk about a lot of things where I say, oh, just do it. It's like my voice tone is like, oh, just accept it. But I know that it's much harder than that. It's not just easy to go, okay, accept it. Like for you, it took a few minutes aside in the bathroom doing a meditation to help yourself chill out. And it was a very short meditation. You've told me about this meditation before, but it helped. And I think that the ability to do that, the ability to surrender, is one of the signs that you're on the path you're supposed to be on.
Absolutely. And I love that you use the word choose. Like I could choose to get angry, not that you just get angry. Because, I mean, that's what we have to realize, that really we're choosing to remain in whatever attitude we're in. And so once we realize that and then we have the tools to change it, then it's just kind of up to us to do the rest, right?
Well, yes.
But you have to recognize the sign in the first place to be able to change it.
And I also find, too, that when I surrender, which, again, is a lot harder than it sounds, especially, and the tougher the situation is, the harder it is to surrender. But when I surrender, it makes it easier to manage my emotions about it. It makes it easier to deal with whatever comes of it. So it could be like a huge deal, like, your marriage is falling apart, or somebody that you love died, or something like that. And maybe there's something you can do about it. Maybe there's something you can do that'll make it better. In the end, you don't have control over all of it. But to be able to say, well, it is what it is, and I'm going to take it the best way that I can. And whatever happens, and this is just the statement I'm going to say has been said so many times that it is abused and it's not even appreciated. But anyway, so to say, well, whatever happens is for my best good. And some people, in fact, my husband Chris is probably watching this and he hates that line. He hates it. Why? Like that's what you hear from so many people, from so many teachers. And it gets really, really frustrating to hear, well, whatever happens is going to be for the best good. That gets really, really aggravating to hear that. You're like, okay, if I get a divorce and I lose my house, how is that for the best good, right? You don't feel it that way. I have a story, though, about I can't remember what his name was. He was the spiritual leader in this village, okay? And a teenage girl in the village got pregnant. And when her parents said, okay, who's the father? She said, it's the spiritual leader over there. It's the yogi over there the parents were aggravated and furious, and they went to him and they said, you did this to our daughter. And he said, I didn't, but if that's what you believe, then okay. So 9 months later, the baby was born, and the parents brought the baby to the spiritual leader and said, your baby, your responsibility, it's on you. And his words, the quote that he said at that time was, is that so? He didn't argue. He didn't fight. He just accepted. And here he's given a baby 18 years of responsibility. Here you go. Is that so? Okay. And he just accepted it. And he took care of the baby. He loved the baby. He raised the baby for 1 year. And after a year, the girl told her parents the truth, who the father really was. The parents came back to the spiritual leader and said, okay, we want the baby back. And here he's been raising and loving this baby for a year. He has bonded with this baby. He loves this baby. And his first initial reaction might be, no way. This is my baby now. You gave it to me. I've loved it. And his response was, is that so? And he let them have the baby back. And so if you think, okay, what would you do if somebody did that to you? If somebody showed up on your doorstep and said, this is your baby, you're taking it. And then a year later came back and said, it's our baby, we're taking it. What would your emotional reaction be? And yet his emotional reaction was, is that so? And he completely surrendered to the entire situation. And he loved that baby with full love for that whole year. And he sent that baby with full love when they came for it again. But he could have, ranted and screamed and argued and fought and set the whole village ablaze. And instead he just accepted it. And I don't know that I would be willing to accept a baby if somebody dropped it off on my doorstep. But I highly, highly admire the man in the story for having the whatever it was to just accept and surrender and say, is that so? I mean, he was worried about his reputation. He's worried about taking care of this child. Is that so? And that's all that it was. But being able to do that, and so I heard that story and I've been working on being able to say that, being able to surrender. Is that so? Rather than getting emotionally charged over everything. I have not succeeded at being perfect at that, but I'm working on it. But being able to work on that, recognizing it's something I need to be better at, is a sign to me that I'm moving forward. Right?
Yeah.
I love some of the simpler signs, some of the simple coincidences. I had one happen the other night that I was playing, okay, and some people think that this is silly, but I love it. When I see 11:11 or 1-2-3-4, like 12:34 on the clock, I love that. I get charged from that. And when I was growing up, my best friend Holly would always say 11:11, make a wish, or 1-2-3-4, make a wish. And I still kind of do that, but sometimes instead of making a wish, I just kind of smile and think, okay, there's my little coincidence for the day, or for this moment, because I actually have several of them happen a day. And I just kind of feel a confirmation that for me, 11:11 is a confirmation. For my friend, it's a dime. I have a friend who, for her, it's butterflies. But for me, it's 11:11. In fact, the other day, or 12:34, it was after midnight, and I was playing on my phone, and I had a timer countdown on my phone, And I looked at it right as it was at 11 minutes and 11 seconds. And I went, well, that's cool. And not 5 seconds after that, my husband looked at the clock and said, hey, babe, it's 12:34. So I got my favorite 2 time confirmations within 10 seconds. And I know a lot of people think, whatever, no big deal, or think I'm even being silly, but those people probably aren't listening right now. They probably wouldn't have been paying attention this long. But I do love that one. I have another story I want to tell of a friend of mine. This happened just the other day, and she lives up in Provo, Orem, Utah, for those of us that aren't in Utah watching this or here listening. And she was supposed to go somewhere, but the place that she was going to go, she had to have a special pass to get in. And she actually felt really bad about it because she had been looking forward to it, and it's a thing that is very special to her to be able to do. So when she couldn't find her pass, she was frustrated. And once she found her pass, which happened later, she can go again. It's not like it was a certain time. But she was very frustrated that day because she felt like her life was being held on hold because she couldn't find that pass, right? And so she finally said, okay, you know what? It is what it is. I'm sure it'll pop up, but I can't find it, so I can't go to where I was going to go. I'll just accept it. I'll just surrender to that. And instead, she took her family to a restaurant out to eat. I think they were In-N-Out. And as they were in there eating, she ran across her doctor. And this is a doctor of hers who's been her doctor for years. And my good friend has struggled with infertility and has had miscarriages. And so her doctor isn't just like somebody that she sees and they write her prescription and she sees him again in a year. This is a man who has cried with her when she has lost babies. Okay. So it wasn't just, oh, there's my doctor. Seeing him made her heart full. Seeing him brought tears to her eyes and made her so grateful and so joyful for the children that she does have, one of whom was an adoption that he referred to her. So that moment of running into him in the grocery store, or not in the grocery store, in the restaurant, was the thing that she needed that day. It confirmed everything for her. She was able to look at that doctor and then look back at her kids and say, I have all of these, partly because this man was in my life. And it brought for her this huge appreciation and gratitude, right? And then she wasn't even worried about not being able to go where she wanted to go because she didn't have her pass because she was so grateful. And I commented on her Facebook, and I was careful to not make it about me. And I said, you know what? I bet that tomorrow you're going to find that pass in a place that you already looked 4 times because you weren't supposed to go there. You were supposed to go see your doctor, even though you didn't know that's what was going to happen. So today I woke up, very first thing, I didn't check Facebook very first thing, but the first thing I saw on Facebook, she had posted and linked me in the comments and said, Della, you nailed it. That pass was sitting on the passenger seat of my car where I had looked at least 4 times. I sat on it. Didn't see it. In and out of the car several times. Didn't see that pass.
Wow, that's crazy.
Because that wasn't what she was supposed to do. She was supposed to go spend some time with her family, see her doctor, be reminded of her gratitude and appreciation, and have that full fulfillment. That's what she needed that day. And you use the term little miracles. And I use that term a lot too. Another term that I've heard used is tender mercies. Just little things. And it might even just be that you're tired and stressed and frustrated, and you pull into the parking lot of the grocery store and the one by the door that's not handicapped is open. And you go, oh, thank you so much. I couldn't handle walking across the parking lot today, and I didn't have to because that spot was there. And a coincidence happened for us. We were hanging out with some friends over the weekend, celebrating a friend's 40th birthday party. And my husband, Chris, had gone outside and realized it's kind of cold. It's January. And then because he and I, we've been married almost 22 years, we've shared a lot of mirror neurons, we're able to kind of think the same things a lot. He tried to send to me a message to bring him his coat. And I don't even think he thought it would work because he's kind of skeptical about those things. He might be commenting on here right now. But so he had this idea in his mind, I wonder if Della could just figure out that I'm cold and bring me my coat. And he turned and looked at the door, and he didn't see me. Instead, Cody was walking out the door carrying Chris's coat and gave it to him. And what was your thought? Why did you take him his coat?
Well, I mean, I was just out there talking to him, and it was cold out there, so I thought, maybe he needed his coat. I think at that point we were getting ready to leave as well, so I think that was part of it. But yeah, I just saw his coat sitting there and thought, it's pretty cold out there. He'd probably like his coat. So, but I totally think that's a sign. Like, I don't think it's just a little coincidence, because after talking to him, he was saying, man, that was instantaneous. Like, it just was, as soon as I wished it was like appearing. So it was kind of a cool moment.
I wish it worked. Well, we like to say we wish it worked that good all the time. You could just wish for something and it happened, except you wouldn't want to, like, if it was that easy, you'd have to really control your thoughts, because if you thought of diarrhea, bam, and you don't want that. So it does take more than just thinking about it, most of the time, to make that happen.
Well,
but that was a really cool thing.
I also think realizing that not everything we want is for our own good either.
And some things that we don't want are also for our good.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't change. We wouldn't change if we only had good stuff happening to us all the time. If everything we wanted that was good happened, then we would never change. So just realizing that as well.
Will you say that again?
If we only had good stuff happen to us, then we'd never change.
That's fantastic. And so as we're looking around us, if we're seeing a lot of negative signs around us, that might be a clue that we need to change, that we need to be growing and working harder on ourselves. If we're looking around us and we can see a lot of those positive things, even just like your friend bringing you your coat when you're cold, I feel like that's a pretty fantastic sign. So as you are looking in your life, if you have those little coincidences or even somebody that you jinx a lot with, those kind of things, just take a different look at those things in your life and ask yourself, what does that mean? Does it have a meaning? Maybe it doesn't, but maybe it does. And maybe paying attention to those little signs can help you create some bigger signs. And I thank again my friend Cody for being here and helping me on the show today. I will see you next week, and I'm pretty sure, Cody, you'll see you pretty soon too. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
And remember, we're not here to tell you what to think. We're just trying to help you, encourage you to think for yourselves. Have a great week, everybody.